We just met with the charge nurse and filed a complaint. We are going up the chain of command and don't plan to stop telling everyone. Dee Dee is still in the PQ, but we are hopeful she gets transferred to general sometime today. She is a little fighter and seems to be doing better. My first time posting, and I'm not sure this is the best category. I'm also posting from my cell phone, so bear with me. I will start off by mentioning that our daughter, 10 months, we'll call her Dee Dee, was born last year, 10 weeks early. This required a long, but successful 52-day NICU stay. I say this because we have worked with dozens of nurses and have never had an issue. We'd like to think we're pretty easygoing and just try to advocate for our daughter the best we can. Last Monday, Dee Dee was throwing up and spiked a fever of 103. We brought her to the where they transferred her to inpatient care. The plan was to keep up with Tylenol ibuprofen to keep her temp down. We discussed possibly getting an tube to help keep her hydrated. Tuesday comes and she's coughing so hard she vomits and gets dehydrated, so she gets the N-tube and we start her on tube feeds that night. We meet with Dee Dee's doctors on Wednesday morning along with entitled nurse Anne and come up with a plan for the day. We all agree that she needs to keep on a Tylenol ibuprofen schedule to keep her fever at bay so she doesn't get further dehydrated, and we will try feeding her formula Pedialyte via bottle as long as she isn't exerting too much energy, and if she seems tired we'll go back to the tube feeding. Pretty clear cut, right? Wrong. Dee Dee coughs so hard that she throws up every minimal amount of feed she takes. I'm talking 52 hours max. I can tell Dee Dee is getting dehydrated, she isn't making many dirty diapers, just becoming lethargic. And insists we continue bottle feeding and won't allow the tube feed. During this time she also told me to let her know if she feels warm and shall administer Tylenol, instead of sticking to the regimen we agreed upon earlier. I don't think much of it because I'm not a nurse and maybe she is right after all. I start questioning my gut. Please note that during this time Dee Dee is connected to any monitors, no heart rate, oxygen level, etc. In the meantime, I start logging everything. Every feed she takes, every time she vomits, what her temp is, when she gets medicine, etc. I have this gut feeling something is off. My daughter is not right. I knew she was dehydrated, tired and definitely getting sicker. Her cough is getting much more severe. I express all of these concerns and I am not being listened to. At all. A code white is called at some point during the day when another nurse dropped in to check on Dee Dee. They also take a urine sample, pretty hard to get when you're incredibly dehydrated, and she also has a UT on top of whatever it is just fighting. The night nurse, an actual angel of a human being, we'll call him Anne, comes in and immediately notices Dee Dee is off. They hook her up to monitors, finally, and her oxygen is low, temp is spiked, heart rate is very high. A slew of doctors come in to assess. They all agree to put her on oxygen, continue tube feedings and to monitor her stats. He gets her back on tube meals and administers Tylenol to subside her fever. She gets good meals through the night. We feel confident that she's starting to catch up. She finally has a pee diaper after 18 hours. Thursday morning shift change and Anne is back. With the doctors and discuss our game plan for the day. We will continue with tube feeds until the afternoon to let Dee Dee catch up, continue Tylenol, keep her on oxygen until noon, and if she spiked a fever we will get a chest x-ray done to see what's going on. Rounds finish and Anne comes in and immediately disconnects her oxygen and stops her tube feeds. I ask why. She says she won't have these at home so she can't rely on them. Mind you, there has been zero discussion of Dee Dee going home and it's literally 8 a.m., not noon. We have no idea what's wrong with her at this point and she continues to get worse. But I, naively, think that the doctor must have changed his plan and I don't push back anymore. Dee Dee develops a worse cough and starts grunting non-stop. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you it is non-stop. She's clearly having a hard time keeping up and is having trouble breathing and settling down. I voice my concerns to Anne. Her response? She comes in and shuts the monitors off and stops monitoring Dee Dee's stats. I tell her I'd prefer if she left them on. They weren't causing any harm. She says not my call and walks out. I am irate at this point. I can't even speak to her, let alone look at her any time she comes in. My poor daughter is inconsolable and comes in very infrequently because why would she? It's not like she sees any issues on her monitor because she shut them off. My gut tells me something is wrong again. I take Dee Dee's temp just up to 102 and just gives her Tylenol and tells me to stop taking her temp. We ask about the x-ray and then says we're holding off. What we agreed to with the doctor this morning, but okay. Shift change happens, thank God. We get in back. He calls the doctor in again, and he starts coughing so hard. Again, she vomits on doctor, her breathing is labored. Just clearly breathing from her belly and having a very hard time. Just lethargic. The doctor are very upset that she is in this condition after we filled them in on the day. Put her back on the monitor, just barely at 84 oxygen, heart rate is high, fever is high, you get it. Same song and dance, but we get her back on track sort of. We requested for that nurse to be removed from our service. Friday morning. Dee Dee's condition isn't getting better at all. Her body is trying to play catch up, but it's incredibly hard for her when she has been working, unnecessarily, overtime for so long. There's really only so much they could do overnight before it derailed during the day. A code white again. This time the PICU team observes her and she gets transferred to the AQ, where she still is today. She is being monitored around the clock by this incredible staff, thankfully. She is finally starting to do better, not in the clear quite yet, but we're getting there. Is on high flow oxygen and exclusively feeding through the tube in order to let her little body heal and not have to work so hard. It is such a shame when you get one bad nurse. Nurses are supposed to be a liaison between you and the doctor. They are supposed to work with you, not against you. Can't help but think Anne was just incredibly negligent or just really fucking bad and careless at her job. Either way, why do you work in pediatrics when you so clearly lack empathy among other things? Our daughter has spent a total of 58 days in the hospital in the last 10 months. That's 116 nurses, give or take. We have never run into a problem like this. Ita. Or do you think it is reasonable for us to file a complaint against her? I'd hate for any other family to endure what we had those 3 days of having her as our nurse.